Okay, Eagles, we're ready to talk about the expository essay for the English 1 EOC retake. I'm just going to cover a few things and then I'm going to actually give you some examples, so just bear with me as I just kind of go through what to do and what not to do. So let's just pretend that you're sitting down, it's December the 1st, and you've come in and you're ready to take this test. Well, the first thing I want you to do is open it to your writing prompt and write your essay. This is because it's probably one of the most challenging things for this students to do, and you want to do it when you're not tired and you haven't read 5,000 words already. So let's just go ahead and get started with that. So I'm actually going to read you a prompt that was pulled off the TEA website. This is a prompt that was used last year on the freshman test, English 1 test, and I'm going to show you how to approach it, and then I'll give you some kind of hands-on. Okay, so this is how the prompt reads. Read the following quotation. The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time you fail. Nelson Mandela. Then it goes on to say to think carefully about the following question. Can failure make you stronger? Then it finally gets to your task. Write an essay explaining whether failure can strengthen a person. And then it tells you to be sure to clearly state your thesis, organize and develop your ideas effectively, choose your words carefully, edit your writing for grammar. Yes, you have to write and spell well on this test. It's been said that we don't count off for that, but the state does. So edit your writing for grammar, mechanics, and spelling. Okay, so what would I do with this prompt? Besides cry? No, we're not going to cry. We are going to write. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attack the prompt. And what I mean by that is we're going to really know what this prompt is asking us to do. And the way we do that is we take a look at the prompt itself. The prompt is not the quote in the box, and it's not the question they ask us to think about. The prompt is our task, which says to write. The way I always attack a prompt, no matter what, even still today, when I write a paper that's for academic reasons, I circle my verbs, which is this, in this case would be write and explain, and then I underline the task at hand, what they want me to explain, what they want me to do with that verb. Well, this one wants me to explain whether failure can strengthen a person. So the first thing I have to do is remember that I'm explaining, I'm not taking a side. This is not a persuasive paper. So as much as you want to lend your own opinion, you have to be careful to keep it as an explanation. Okay? So you don't have to really buy into it, you just have to explain it. So, first thing I want to do, always, is brainstorm for just a little bit. So, this question is not if it can strengthen, it's asking me to explain it. It's a little tricky because it doesn't say how, it says whether. And that kind of lends to an opinion paper, but you have to be really careful to remember that this is expository. So to be sure I safeguard myself, I would not do a T-chart. I would just put a list of reasons or ways that failure can strengthen me or strengthen a person. And how does it? So later on I'll give you some concrete examples. So after I've done that and I've come up with my list of reasons, I'm going to write my first draft of my thesis. I haven't touched that lined piece of paper yet. Do not touch that lined piece of paper until you've written your brainstorming ideas down and your first draft of your thesis, because that's what's going to guide you through your whole paper. So in my thesis statement, I would simply use my prompt to help me get started. A lot of students complain that that's the hardest thing to do. It's just, what do I write first? So use the prompt. So simply saying failure can strengthen a person by, and filling in the blank. How? That's your how. That is a complete thesis statement for this paper. You can present 1 or 2 ideas. You only have 26 lines. So really you don't want to present more than 1 or 2 ideas. If you're only going to develop 1 idea, then you will have a thesis statement that looks like this. Failure can strengthen a person by, and then your reason. If you're going to have 2 ideas, failure can strengthen a person by blank and blank. And then that will tell you the two topics you'll talk about in your two body paragraphs. Okay. So going back to the thesis statement, once you clearly define those two ideas, your readers know where you're going. If you never tell us where you're going, we're going to wonder the whole paper. And the graders in Austin, they get cranky when you don't tell them where they're going. So, once you write your thesis, you got to move on to your topic sentence for your idea. This is going in your body paragraph. A topic sentence is kind of like a mini thesis. You got to tell us what that paragraph is going to talk about. So, once you write your topic sentence, you have to follow that with a really concrete idea. Not just because I think so. That's not going to cut it. You have to give me a real world example. Like maybe Michael Jordan. He failed many times before he succeeded. I think he didn't even make his high school basketball team. Now, isn't that a shame? But that's a great example you could use in your paper of how failure really did strengthen him and motivated him to push on. I know the Wright brothers would be another good example. Think of how many times they tried to get that dang plane to take off and it didn't. But they never gave up. So that's another concrete example. Or you could give one from your own life. But just make sure it's something that the reader or the audience of your paper can know that you could really support your thesis with. And then you have to simply wrap it up. In and out, 26 lines, guys. So your conclusion needs to be, often we've called it a restatement of your thesis. Some students believe that means just repeat your thesis. It doesn't. It means the way you said your thesis is one way, and now you have to say it in a different way. You have to use different words completely to express the same idea. And once you do that, you have a pretty concrete paper. There's one thing that we didn't talk about, and that's a hook. And there's a reason why I saved it for last. Sometimes that's when the hook comes to you, at the last. And so I would say to you, don't spend a lot of time on a hook. If you can't get a hook, it's okay. Just start your strong thesis statement and go with it. And then don't worry about it. But if you want to come up with a good hook, just think of yourself, how would I lead my reader into my thesis statement? And if you can think of like a quick little quote or old saying about that, then lend that to your paper. But if not, it's not a big deal. It would hurt you less to not write one than to ramble on and on in your introduction. So that's basically it for the expository paper, and I will give you some concrete thesis statements in just a few minutes and a good topic sentence and show you how to rewrite your thesis. How to restate your thesis for your conclusion paragraph. Later.